All right, we want Mashiach now, of course, to begin. Just a crazy video of a man, tragically really named Abu Aya. His parents did in fact hit him with the quadruple Abu, something which should be done to no child. He's the official Hamas spokesperson. That's his position, a well-paying job, and he gave a speech on the 100th day of the war, explaining why they started this war. Take a look at his eyes, because that is all you will see.
بلغ أقصى مداه على مصرانا وأقصانا، وبدأ تقسيمه الزماني والمكاني فعلا، وأحضرت البقرات الحمر تطبيقا لخرافة دينية مقيتة مصممة للعدوان على مشاعر أمة كاملة في قلب عروبتها ومسرى نبيها ومعراجه إلى السماء.
Here we have Abu blaming the attacks on October 7th, Simchas Torah, on the red cows that Israel has. A pretty insane statement to make, especially because this is actually true. Israel does have red cows, and they actually mean a lot. So let's get into what these red cows are.
The cows he's talking about at a secure, undisclosed location are these, red heifers, to be precise. Some Jews and Christians believe they're the key to rebuilding the historic Jewish temple in Jerusalem and to beckoning the Messiah. To understand, you have to go back nearly 2,000 years when the ancient Romans destroyed the last temple in the city. To rebuild it, these believers point to the Bible's book of Numbers. It commands the Israelites to sacrifice a red heifer without defect or blemish, and that has never been under a yoke. Only then can the temple rise again.
The red cow was a sacrifice given in the Holy Temple in Jerusalem. Right over here, it is the way to deal with impurities. When somebody was impure, obviously impurity is not a physical dirtiness, it is a spiritual impurity. You would take this sacrifice, which is also not about the cow, it's about the spiritual idea and with the ashes, and that would be how you deal with impurities. As the Rambam writes, historically the first red cow was given by Moses himself, Moshe Rabbeinu, the second by Ezra. There was 9 given until the present day, and the 10th will be given by the King Mashiach, by the Melech HaMashiach. Meaning, the issue over here that Hamas is saying is that the Jews are preparing to greet the Melech HaMashiach, the King Mashiach. So in other words, that the Jews, which we do actually now have in Israel, red cows, are preparing to greet the Messiah. They're preparing to bring in the era of Mashiach. Which, let's get into what Mashiach is. The Mashiach is the magnum opus, the goal, the climax, the whole point and the destination of this world itself and the whole point of Judaism. This is in fact why God made the world in the first place. It says God made this world in order to have a dira b'tachtenim, a dwelling place in this world. Meaning, this is what Mashiach is, that God should be in this world like a man in a house. God should be able to be revealed over here. So the Mashiach is a man, which will lead us to the redemption, but the era of Mashiach is when we will be able to completely bind physical with spiritual, to be able to show that the oneness of God does not contradict the world, and to the contrary, the world itself is all a part of that oneness. If God is truly one, then all physical is part of that as well. So the Mashiach is really the goal of everything, which is why God made this world, that regular physical human beings in a physical world should be able to bring God into their life and live a holy, godly life. And because this is the whole point of everything, as Maimonides writes, Kol hachsuvim aleim b'davar zeh, all the books of Judaism are filled with this idea, which is Mashiach. And you see this right with the creation of the world. The first thing that God created was light. Why are you making light if there's nobody to enjoy the light? The first human only came 6 days later. Well, he's making the light as a mission statement, to say that I made this world to make it a light world. The mission statement of this world is to bring Mashiach, to bring light, to bring godliness even into this physical entity. And this is what the giving of the Torah was, another stage in this process. The giving of the Torah was God saying that I give you the ability to now take physical and make it holy. When you do a mitzvah, when you do a commandment, when you add goodness and kindness in this world, that now becomes a holy entity that brings me into this world. Now this is where it gets interesting. The Gemara, the Talmud, brings a bunch of signs to know when will the Mashiach come? When will this era of God being at home in this world in a revealed way, with the rebuilding of the third temple, with the ending of all wars, with the resurrection of the dead, when will this happen? The Gemara brings a bunch of different signs, and according to all signs, this is the generation of the Mashiach. More than that, every generation has a Moses in their generation. In our generation, the Rebbe, the Moses of our generation, the leader of the Jews, said as a prophecy that we are the last generation of exile and the first of the Mashiach, meaning we are the generation where to bring Mashiach. We will bring Mashiach. This is why, of course, the red cows are at the ready. They're at the ready for this era of redemption, and because that is how we will get to the stage of the rebuilding of the third temple, through the purification of the Jews as a whole, which is through the red cow. And this is, I think, where it's really important to each and every one of us, because Hamas basically came out and said that they are fighting a war on Mashiach. They're fighting a war on the era of redemption for the world as a whole. It's a spiritual war of good versus evil. The Rambam writes, Maimonides writes, that every single person needs to look at the world as if it is completely even. And through him doing one good action, one good deed, one good thought, one good speech, he could bring redemption to the whole world. Meaning, the bringing of Mashiach is every individual's task to do his part to bring Mashiach. So, we could literally fight this war against Hamas to do our part to bring Mashiach and to bring peace and redemption and godliness and holiness to the world as a whole, and to fight this spiritual war of good versus evil. And we want Mashiach now.